How's it going? I'm Dr. J, and this is my guide on how to beat Joker in Smash Ultimate. So Joker came out about a week ago now, and of course online is still pretty full of wannabe Joker mains, so while everyone was labbing on how to play Joker, I took that opportunity to get lots of practice against him. To counter any character, you need to understand them. Not just memorize percents and frame data and flowcharts, but actually recognize the intent behind each action your opponent takes. At very low skill levels, understanding that certain aerials are for combos, certain tilts are for spacing, and most smash attacks or knockout moves will get you a certain level of confidence. But to be truly good, you need to not only use your moves with intent, but read the intent of your opponent. What I mean by this is that truly good players will not only read when their opponent might air dodge or dash back or something, but they'll also understand at least at some level why their opponent is doing whatever they're doing, and thus have an easier time making further reads and predictions. What I'll try to do in this video is give you a better understanding of Joker's general game plan, highlight his strengths and weaknesses, and then build a general counter strategy to what Joker generally wants to do. As a disclaimer, every match is different, and of course there's no one secret trick that can just beat Joker overall. It's a fighting game after all, there's always counterplay, but I'll try and give as many tips as I can along the way. First off, let's go over Joker's overall game plan. Without Arsene, Joker is to Sheik what Wolf is to Fox. So basically, base state Joker plays like Sheik with tons of combos and good movement, but focuses more on the neutral game, weaving in and out and playing a bit more patiently. But similar to Cloud, Joker is constantly filling a meter that, when full, gives better damage, bigger hitboxes, more reliable recovery, and significantly more knockout options. The way that the meter is filled is very similar to Lucario's Aura or Incineroar's Revenge mechanic, meaning that, like Cloud, even if you're winning, it'll build up naturally over time, but especially when taking damage, or countering with down special like Incineroar. But it also functions as a general comeback mechanic, meaning that when the momentum is shifted to Joker's opponent, Joker gets a bit of an added boost to allow for a much easier comeback. Anyway, if that confuses you, I'll be going much more in depth into the mechanics of Arsene when we go into the counterplay section. Joker's main tools in neutral are his side B projectile, his back air, his nair, his down tilt, his dash attack, his guns, his grab, and his counter. Side B, or Aegon's, damage over time is very appealing to Joker players, and at long range you can generally expect a side B or two in the first 30 seconds of any match. Generally, Joker will want to use this out of a short hop, as Joker can move during it, either retreating for safety or moving forward for a follow-up if it lands. The projectile is tangible, meaning that other hitboxes like projectiles, Zair, or swords can go through it. Back air is Joker's fastest, safest, and most spammable zoning option, and landing a falling back air can easily start some decent combos. Obviously it doesn't have the best range though, but it's also really good for edge guarding and has almost no landing lag. Nair is a common approach option due to its extremely active and circular hitbox, and again, getting a landing Nair can net some solid combos. It's also a very common move when crossing up your opponent, or basically getting behind them, which Joker does a lot as you'll see. Down tilt has low profile and thus can duck under many aerials and projectiles. At close range it crosses up on shields, and the late part of it can start combos. It's kind of like Cloud's down tilt mixed with Mario's dash attack. Dash attack is essentially Joker's longest reaching move because of how much he can move with it, so it's commonly used for whiff punishing. It sends very horizontally, which is good for Joker because it can send his opponents off stage, and at high percent with Arsene it can knock out. Similar to down tilt, dash attack can cross up really easily, so if you see an animation of Joker going low to the ground or prone, you can bet that if you shield, Joker will wind up on the other side of you, which for characters who don't have good back airs out of shield can be pretty dangerous. Guns are kind of like Fox's lasers mixed with Sheik's needles. It obviously has better mobility options than lasers or needles, and when Joker is optimized, this will probably be a big way for Joker to punish campy opponents and tack on chip damage, but right now it's not very practical as it doesn't do much hit stun, and the lag afterwards is pretty bad even with the ability to move after each shot. Of course, once people start consistently gun wave dashing or whatever, it will be a good surprise approach tool, but right now the scariest part about guns are going to be the jumping or downwards falling guns, as they can be used as an escape option or a gimp tool. Finally, Joker's dash grabs and tomahawk grabs will be thrown out a lot in neutral due to his mobility and extremely good throw combos, which I'll get to in a second. Now obviously Joker will be countering a lot, especially against projectiles, but it's basically just like Incineroar's counter in base state and Palutena's with Arsene, so of course grabs and just waiting and punishing it will make Joker think twice about throwing it out without a hard read. For Joker's combos, down air, nair, back air, and forward air all easily start combos at most percents if Joker hits you as he's landing. The as he is landing part is extremely important for the counterplay section, so take note of that. Low percent F tilts and dash attacks start a tech chase for Joker, so be ready for that. Joker can easily get 30 to 60% off of a single grab, with down throw fair working until 40% or up throw up air until 90%. After 90 until like 130%, grabs don't give him too much, so he'll either throw you above him and catch you while you land, or he'll just throw you off the stage for an edge guard opportunity. Finally, for knockout options, Joker only has a few in his base form. The first is obviously smash attacks, but they don't do that much knockback, and even with Arsene, are mostly reserved for hard reads. Another option he has is the first hit of fair, which is a kill confirm at high percents. Aside from that though, he almost has to edgeguard to get a knockout. With Arsene, however, just about everything from back air to up air kills around 100% or more, with the exception of his tilts and throws. A smash attack at 60% is probably death against Arsene. So basically, to recap, the things that you really need to be scared of are Joker's base state combos, his grab game, his counters and comeback mechanic, his mobility and mix-up potential, his knockout power and damage with Arsene, and his projectiles. Now for Joker's weaknesses. First off, in base state, Joker has relatively low kill power, he usually loses trades pretty hard, he's extremely unsafe while shielding as he can't do anything out of shield that hits a well-spaced or low-profiled opponent, his moves are generally pretty easy to parry, and he gets punished pretty hard when you get one. He's extremely easy to combo and pretty easy to juggle with most characters due to his middle weight and relatively fast fall speed. His recovery in base state is really bad, his Arsene recovery is still gimpable, he has no way of getting back from the ledge, his weight isn't high enough to survive very high percents, and his hitboxes, outside of side B, are pretty darn small and can be outspaced easily, at least by a lot of characters. First off, let's figure out how we deal with the persona meter in Arsene. Obviously, some general notes are to stall out Arsene when you can, particularly when you're invulnerable after respawning or while you're recovering. However, let me be clear, if you don't play any offense, you cannot win. Obviously, you have to hit your opponent to knock them out, so just running away from Arsene all the time is not how you should be playing at all. Now with that said, there are ways to adapt your offense to be a bit safer and more defensive. For instance, any decent player knows that charging a smash attack in neutral is almost always an extremely bad option because it severely limits your options both during and after attack due to the startup and end lag. So conversely, a good way to play defense would be to throw out fast, safe, and long-reaching moves that minimize the chance of being whiff punished. These kinds of moves generally come in the forms of tilts and short-hop aerials and are generally referred to as pokes, zoning, or spacing moves. Some good examples of this would be Marth or Roy's down tilt, Mario's back air, or Samus's Zair. The reason why these moves are good is because they each stuff approach options from Joker, with Marth's down tilt stopping a dash grab, Mario's back air stuffs Joker's neutral and back air, and Samus's Zair is a Swiss Army knife for stopping horizontal approaches in general and can go right through Joker's side special. Now none of these moves do a whole lot of percent on their own, but they put Joker into a worse position, giving you more stage control and tech chase or edge guard opportunities, and making it harder for Joker to approach and start combos. This is important because, as I mentioned earlier, base state Joker is similar to Sheik in that he really doesn't win trades and relies on putting together long combos or strings to rack up damage. Safe poking or spacing moves on Joker once he has his persona up will be slightly harder to land due to Arsene's added hitboxes, but they're even more rewarding as they lessen Arsene's duration. Normally, Arsene lasts for 30 seconds, but for every 1% of damage you do, that duration decreases by 1 second. So for example, landing Zair with Samus usually does 1 to 5% on its own, but its main purpose isn't to do damage anyway, but more to keep the opponent out and put them in a poor position, often allowing for a follow-up. Against Arsene, landing Zair is amazing because not only do you do chip damage and completely outspace everything Joker has, but you also lower Arsene's duration by 1 to 5 seconds, and add a second or two where he's pushed away by the Zair. So, rather than running away, landing a single light hit then resetting to neutral is a safe way to stall Arsene out. This can be important when you're just barely in Arsene's kill percent, but not in base Joker's kill zone. Knowing when to slow the game down is really important, and while you always need to adapt your game plan to each individual match, a generally safe strategy for a lot of characters is to go for a grab early while being wary of an opposing grab, as low percent grabs lead into a ton of damage for both characters in most Joker matchups. Joker can easily get almost 50% at a low percent grab, so if you don't have great low percent grab combos yourself, you might want to just avoid being in grab range and play a safe neutral game for a bit. Joker will generally get Arsene up by around the 60% mark, which is too low to get a clean knockout on him without a gimp or an edge guard, and in a perfectly even game, you'll be around 50 to 70% as well, which is below or just barely within Arsene's kill percent. Now, regardless of if Joker has Arsene up, trading single hits or small strings against Joker is generally in your favor. Because let's say that Joker gets Arsene early on with a counter or something, trading hits might result in taking a lot of damage from Arsene, but it also means that by the time you get up to Arsene's kill percent, his duration will run out, netting you a valuable chance for a counterattack at high percent, as you only really have to worry about getting hit by Joker's fair or smash attacks. And when you know those moves are coming, it's pretty easy to play around them. Now, comboing Joker is fairly easy as I stated before, but juggling him is kind of weird because you have to avoid triggering his counter. Basically, what you need to do is either catch him before he can counter, or punish the tremendous end lag on it if you don't hit the counter. The theory behind this is similar to the empty fort strategy that I explained in part 1 of my Samus guide, which explains when to use a charge shot and when to switch to a more aggressive playstyle, so check that out if you haven't. Edgeguarding Joker is actually really easy, particularly when he doesn't have Arsene. He pretty much has to recover low, which is also true for when he has Arsene unless you go really far off stage trying to catch him, which isn't the greatest idea due to the range and invincibility on Arsene's recovery. I find that dropping bombs with characters like Samus, the Lynx, or Snake works extremely well at gimping Joker at any percent, and things like the Belmont's Axe and Pikachu or Pichu's Thunder Jolt can kind of do the same thing. Otherwise, going out with the back air with characters like Mario, Donkey Kong, or Yoshi to catch the tether is somewhat risky but a very solid move. When Arsene is up, position yourself just a bit away from the ledge and try to ledge trap him or react with an anti-air if he tries to recover high to a platform. Joker isn't the best in scrambles, so he's relatively vulnerable after grabbing ledge, and even just getting a few percent on him when he's recovering with Arsene will lower its duration. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got for now. Obviously, with patches and optimization, this video will become less and less relevant over the next few months, but for now, while everyone is riding the Joker hype train without really labbing him, this info should hopefully give you a pretty big edge against Joker. I'll also add any tips I might have forgotten in the description of this video, and feel free to leave your own in the comments. Anyway, happy labbing and peace.